information session is now called to order. At this time, we will look to our city manager to call for our invocation and our pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, the invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by the city attorney.
Thank you. Everyone, please stand. Bow your heads. Our reading today comes from 1 Peter, 3rd chapter, 15th verse. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to anyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to stand before you, gathered together to do the work that you've afforded us the privilege to do. We ask that you grant us the wisdom and grace to continue to serve the city earnestly, listen diligently, and conduct ourselves honorably. This we ask in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank our city manager for calling for our city attorney who offered our invocation and led us in our Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, if we have guests, we need to hear our decorum tonight. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Decorum section 2-67, section B. Persons who wish to address the City Commission at a work session shall have the right to address or speak to the City Commissioners on official action or other topics relating to the business or interest of the city. The Commission will not hear from persons, and persons will not be permitted to speak, no matter on matters or issues which are not related to official city business, matters or issues not under the jurisdiction or control of the Commission, matters or issues published on an agenda as a public hearing agenda item, or on matters or issues which are traditionally reserved for executive session, such as personnel matters and matters which are the subject of or pertain to pending or current litigation. Because time is a limited resource, and in an effort to hear from the public in the most efficient and effective manner possible, a total of 4 persons will be permitted to speak at each work session with a maximum of 3 minutes allotted to each speaker. Speakers shall sign up on a first-come, first-served basis. Failure to follow procedures outlined herein may result in an individual not being able to address the Commission until he or she agrees to the mayor's satisfaction to abide by the rules stated herein. Persons who wish to address or speak to the City Commission at a work session must register, sign up, or express their desire with the city clerk no later than the beginning of a work session at which he or she desires to address or speak to the mayor or city commissioners, and shall state the subject matters of the speaker's remarks. The following rules shall apply. 1, the speaker must begin the remarks by stating his or her name, address the organization represented, if any. The speaker must initially address all remarks to the mayor and not to any individuals. The speaker shall follow the rules of decorum as set out in section 2-66 and must avoid repetition or argument. Any commissioner or city manager or the city attorney may, after receiving permission from the mayor, ask questions of the speaker. The asking of questions by the commissioner, the mayor, city manager, or city attorney shall automatically suspend the 3-minute time limit. Persons who have not satisfied the sign-up requirements will not be allowed to speak unless there is a consensus of commissioners to allow the person to speak. The City Commission, which is with the consensus of the members present, may suspend all or any of these rules to the extent permitted by law. Any person who violates any of these rules may be removed from the meeting. Any speaker or proposed speaker who violates the rules after first being warned by the mayor or the city commission, either or both, to cease such violation shall be, upon conviction in a municipal court, be guilty of an offense and punished and set forth in section 1-9. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, if we have guests, would you please call the guests and remind them of giving them the name, address, and information that is pertinent for the meeting?
Yes, sir. Our first guest is Mr. Robert Hilton Boyette. Mr. Boyette, please take the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Robert Hilton Boyette. Start with, I retired from here, Waycross Police Department, 27 years back in 2015. I recently purchased 2706 Alice Street, which was zoned in the city. Purchased on March the 13th. On March the 16th, came down to get the water turned on, paid the deposit fee, and left. A few minutes later, we got a call back from the clerk up front saying, "Oh, we made a mistake. There's no city water at that address, but there is city sewer. So we're going to refund your deposit." Well, I thought that was odd that you could have city sewer but not city water, since I thought that's the way you metered the sewer usage, is by the sewer water usage. Anyway, I said, okay, I'll go out to the county, get the county water turned on. So I go to the county, Satilla Regional Water Department, and tell them that, I want to get the water turned on, but the sewer's on in the city. I said, oh no, we've had the sewer and the water since 2006. So apparently the city had been charging the previous owners since 2006 for at least city sewer, but that's not the issue here. Just wanted to sort of bring you up to how we got to this point. I go back and tell the people up front, hey, they say that there's no city sewer issue either. I've had proof from the county water department that shows that they had inherited the city water and sewer since 2006. They took that off the bill also. The only thing currently being paid is just trash pickup, which I think is sort of odd, since I'm paying city taxes, but I'm not getting the infrastructure of the city water and city sewer. That's why I'm here now. The house directly across the street from the one I purchased is zoned in the county, which I'm assuming at some point meant that it's de-annexed from the city into the county. There's a piece of property that comes off of Pinehurst Drive, which is, I think, 303 Pinehurst, that touches the back of my property. That's also zoned in the county. So I'm here asking, since I'm not receiving some of the major services of the city, to de-annex my property from the city into the county and allow that to happen. I've got plots, I got the plat of my warranty deed showing all the landlines. I've got a printout from the water department showing that the county owns the water and sewer at that location. I've got the thing showing that from the County Tax Board of Assessors, even though the property won't show right now if you look it up under my name because it's such recent, that shows I do own the property there. I've got the plat showing the house across the street at 2705 Alice Street is owned county, not city. I've also got the plot on Pinehurst that shows the property comes along behind my property, touches my property, which is also zoned county. So that's what I'm asking for, to be de-annexed into the county, since I'm already paying county taxes. I'm paying city taxes, but not receiving the city benefits.
Very good. So what we will do, we're going to turn this over to our city's manager, who is going to work alongside you to make certain that your requests will be heard and also adhered to. Because I know if you're not receiving the things that you need or you desire to have, he'll be able to help you with that.
Okay.
Okay. But I really appreciate you coming in.
Okay.
And thank you for your service to the city of
So I'll be
Waycross.
notified when to come back?
Yes, sir. He'll probably get with you before the day is over.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Clerk? Okay. That means that the docket for the remainder of the day is going to be in the hand of our city's manager. Mr. Rayford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, this time we have no travel and training. We'll go into the information session and we will start with the bids by Ms. Jackson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Purchasing has one item on the agenda. It is for a Homeland Security grant distributed by GEMA. It was actually awarded back in October of 2024. And looking at our records, we were not able to locate the resolution for this grant. And we are asking that this grant be accepted and a resolution be created to be retroactive from when this fund was actually granted.
Okay. So I need a consent from the districts, and then we'll put this on the agenda for tomorrow, should they all agree. And we'll start with District 1.
Yes, sir.
District 2,
Yes, sir.
District 3,
Yes, sir.
District 4,
Yes.
and District 5.
Yes, sir.
So we have all consenting. It will be on our agenda for tomorrow.
Okay. And that second item on the agenda, we apologize, we had to pull that from the agenda because we had some different things come up with that particular purchase.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Mayor, next we're gonna move into the GMA legislative update. If we can, take about 2 minutes to get on the call and then we can start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Commission, while we're awaiting the connection, on the dais are some legislative reports from Georgia Municipal Association dealing with the Senate bills, those that passed and those that did not pass. And if you pull those, they would be probably helpful as Attorney Renitz gives us our information.
There he is.
Hey Noah, can you hear us okay?
Hey, good afternoon. Is everyone able to hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Perfect. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to begin by introducing myself. My name is Noah Renitz. I'm the Manager of State Relations for the Georgia Municipal Association. For those of you that may not know about GMA, we are a nonprofit organization that works to represent every single city in the state of Georgia. A big portion of GMA services are the advocacy services that we provide at the state capitol. We have a state relations team as well as a federal relations team. And that state relations team works at the state capitol to monitor, track, and to influence and advocate on behalf of Georgia cities at the state capitol. About a month ago, we wrapped up what was the 2026 session of the Georgia General Assembly. And in the number of years that I've been doing this, about 6 now, this was one of the most important sessions to local governments that's been seen in recent memory. A major topic of discussion this session was about local government revenues. And that really centered around the idea of property tax reform, which has long-standing been something that the General Assembly has been looking at. 2.5 years ago, what was passed was House Bill 581, which at the time was one of the most comprehensive rewrites to property tax law in the state of Georgia. That promulgated a floating homestead for all local governments in the state of Georgia, with the simple question being, are local governments going to choose to keep this floating homestead, or are they going to opt out? You very likely had these discussions in that very council chamber you're sitting in now, about 2 years ago now. In the time since, property tax has remained one of the biggest issues that the General Assembly seeks to look at because of what we're seeing across the state of Georgia. And that is a number of jurisdictions where the property tax bills are increasing. And oftentimes, we may say that that's not really the city that has a runaway property tax bill, because we're getting lumped in these conversations to where it's a city, a county, and the school all coming on that same tax bill. It's hard for the taxpayer themselves to differentiate between, well, what value am I paying for? What services am I receiving? So there's some clarity that could be provided there. But coming in to this session in 2026, we knew that, again, property tax was going to be one of the biggest bills brought forward. And it ultimately was. Throughout the session, there were two fundamental pieces of legislation that the association worked and tracked. It was House Bill 1116 and House Resolution 1114. Broad strokes, I won't get too much into details here, but there's a very real departure right now between where local governments are at, boots on the ground, and where we find that the General Assembly is at as they work to legislate. Again, the number one priority really of what we saw in the House of Representatives was the elimination of property tax at the local government level and shifting revenue generation from a property tax medium over to a sales tax medium. And, as the Georgia Municipal Association, we work to represent all cities in the state of Georgia. We recently just completed a roadshow all across the state of Georgia, and the number one concern ubiquitously across the state was, how are we going to continue to provide the services that we do with the rising costs of service delivery, right? So there's a massive dichotomy right now between where the boots on the ground is and where the Georgia legislature can be at times. So we're working to bridge that gap. But ultimately, 3.5 months, 4 months of session working through a property tax bill, what ultimately passed was Senate Bill 33. So I want to just take a moment to speak on that for a bit. So Senate Bill 33 makes mandatory the floating homestead that was promulgated 2.5 years ago with House Bill 581. And the governor signed this bill last week. So every city, county, and school in the state of Georgia will now have a floating homestead that caps the rate of appreciation of homesteaded properties at the rate of inflation. There cannot be a year-to-year change on a homesteaded property's appraised valuation that is greater than the rate of inflation that is put forward by the Georgia Department of Revenue. The guise there is to provide better transparency and better predictability for taxpayers. The argument that we heard from the legislature is that the two fundamental factors that matter when it comes to property taxes are the rate of the millage and the underlying value of the asset, right? And what really wasn't changing was the millage rate. Local governments all across the state of Georgia, cities, counties, and schools are not ubiquitously voting to raise millage rates very often. But what is changing is that underlying valuation. And I think fundamentally a goal of the legislature was to say property is going to appreciate over time, but they want there to be greater transparency around local governments if they need to raise revenues, that they're going to hold votes to raise the millage rate, and they're going to put notices out for that. There will not be the idea that you could get away with getting those appreciated values in the property over time kind of that backdoor tax increase. That's kind of what we hear about a lot from members of the legislature. So this floating homestead, which is now all across our state in every jurisdiction, provides a little bit of that greater sense of predictability and transparency for the taxpayer. Now, that bill comes to us as cities without any other restrictions. So there's no restrictions on the amount of revenues that a city can generate in a year-over-year basis, which that had existed in prior iterations of the bill. There is no restriction on what type of millage rate your city can choose to levy. That had existed in previous portions of the bill. There is no stronger financial accounting that needs to be done at the local government level, aside from basically just bifurcation of the digest and tracking those homesteaded properties, their appraisals, as it's tied to that rate of inflation. Now, the two kind of, if you think of that as a soft cap on top of homesteaded properties, there's two sales taxes that are now made available to local governments, namely to cities and counties, to kind of deal with that little cap. Now, these sales taxes are exclusive of each other, so it's one or the other. The first sales tax is called the FLOST. It's the Floating Local Option Sales Tax. Now, this is not new. This was written into law 2.5 years ago alongside House Bill 581. The Floating Local Option Sales Tax is a 1 penny or fractional sales tax that the city and the counties can enter into an IGA and then bring that to a ballot measure where that's approved by the local voters, and that runs very similarly to a LOST, a local option sales tax. It's termed on the ballot for a period of 5 years, and the proceeds from the FLOST are used to roll back the millage rate uniformly across the digest. So the FLOST kind of creates that commercial revenue capture, and it provides generalized property tax relief across the digest. It does not benefit just homesteaded properties. It does not benefit just residential, just commercial, industrial. It's ubiquitous across the digest. That's one of the sales taxes. The other sales tax, and this one is brand new, is called the LHOST, and this is the Local Homestead Option Sales Tax. This is a 1 penny sales tax that does not really come from the local government. This sales tax has to start with your delegation. So you'd have to work with your state house members and your state senate members to pass a local bill. That local bill would authorize a referendum that the city and county could then post among their populace. And if that is approved by the voters, that is a 1 penny sales tax that goes on the books, and that is used first to roll back the millage rates for homesteaded residential properties. Once you have been able to roll back the millage rate for those properties to a 0 point, you can then treat it like generalized property tax relief on the back end, very similar to a FLOST. But the primary benefit of the LHOST is on homesteaded property owners first. Now, again, you kind of hold the keys in the discussion on the FLOST, right? You go to the county, you work to get an IGA promulgated with the city and other city jurisdictions in the county, very similar to other sales taxes that we already have in the state. The LHOST is new. The legislature and your legislative delegation kind of hold the keys in starting that one in that regard. But again, those two sales taxes are exclusive of each other, so it's a one or the other. You don't have to do either of them, but they are really made available to you now because the qualifier for having the floating local option sales tax, the FLOST, was having a floating homestead in place, and because Senate Bill 33, which was signed by the governor last week, mandated that all local governments that have been opted out are now opted back in to the floating homestead. It now means that every jurisdiction across the state of Georgia, cities and counties, are eligible to put a FLOST ballot on the next election. So, speaking of property taxes, I think those are the high points. I've went ahead and shared some further materials with the city manager. I'm sure, I hope those have been shared with y'all. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach back out to GMA for any of that. But that was really the crux of the session. And, we're working to have those discussions around property tax in a manner that makes sense, because there's the reality of the boots on the ground at the city level, and there's the reality of what we're facing at the legislature. And there really is a strong impasse there between where we're legislating at the state level and where we're legislating at the local level. So we're working to bridge that gap and to communicate the realities that you all are facing. As I understand it, this conversation kind of stands as a predicate for your budget discussions. And we know that all across the state, cities are entering into budget discussions and wondering, how are you going to deal with the cost of inflation? How are you going to keep up with the salaries for your public officials, the equipment costs, the fuel costs, the maintenance costs? We're working to communicate those realities and those practicalities to your members of the state assembly so that we can have better partnership there. Kind of moving forward, we talked a lot about property tax, but the other side of that coin about revenues is kind of really about revenue accountability and the importance of having strongly run cities from a financial perspective, really through the lens of audits. This should not apply to the city of Waycross, but there was a bill we passed this year, House Bill 244, which changes the audit standard for local governments that have general budgets under $2.5 million on an annual basis. A growing trend that is not good that we are seeing in the state of Georgia is that there are a greater and greater number of cities every single year, as well as a smaller number of counties, that are failing to submit on an annual basis the state required audit. That number has creeped up over time. It has been something that the legislature has been looking at, and it's the kind of the impetus for why we have this bill to change those audit standards. It's kind of this bad trend that we're seeing, and it's really hard for us to have the conversation around fiscal responsibility through the lens of audits, while also then having to have conversations around property taxes and defending local governments needing to have a strong sense of local control when it comes to revenues, when the General Assembly can point and say that, well, local governments aren't working to really complete their audits in a timely manner, as we have a growing list every single year of cities that aren't in compliance. But House Bill 244 is a step in the right direction to change those standards. Really, the existing audit standard that we had in the state of Georgia was built around a very large city. It was built around a city like Atlanta or Columbus, or quite frankly, maybe even Waycross. And we have a number of smaller cities in the state of Georgia that were being held to the exact same standard. And submitting a proper audit requires a good deal of human capital, right? Employees internally that have strong fundamental understandings of financial procedures. And we just we don't see that in a lot of our cities just due to their smaller nature, their smaller size. Another bill that we had this year that was a little bit of a problem, but it was really, again, aimed at some of our larger cities, was House Bill 295. And this was aimed at kind of local government maintenance of a nuisance. This bill is targeted at cities that have ordinances on the books around petty crimes. These petty crimes would be public intoxication, obstructing public thoroughfares, sleeping in public areas, kind of crimes of homelessness or vagrancy. If cities have ordinances on the books against those types of crimes, and those ordinances are not being enforced by the city, a private property owner can have a right of action against the local government to potentially pursue the recoupment of paid property taxes from that local government for the non-enforcement of those ordinances. The example being, if you are a small business owner and you find that there is continually panhandling or solicitation on or adjacent to your property, and that's having a significant impact upon your business, and the city has a no panhandling ordinance or a no solicitation ordinance, and they're not enforcing that, you as a business owner could potentially work to demonstrate a diminished value case for your business. Now, it's a high watermark to be able to hit this, but this is aimed at some of our larger cities in the state of Georgia, really the Atlantas and the Athens and maybe some other jurisdictions in the state. But this is another one of those kind of pointed bills around local government enforcement around certain types of policies and what happens, kind of a little bit of a teeth for if there's a non-enforcement of that. Outside of that, kind of in the revenue space, we talked a little bit about property taxes. We talked about the audits. We talked about kind of the non-enforcement. There was a little bit about housing this year that we talked about. It was really in the realm of permitting and land development. The focal point was on increasing or decreasing the amount of time spent in permitting for land development for residential housing purposes. Ultimately, through negotiations all throughout the 4-month session, we were able to pass a bill that we think makes a lot of sense for cities, as well as makes some sense for the development community, that works to shorten the amount of time certain projects will spend in the land disturbance permit issuance process. I don't know this off the top of the head, but I would assume that the city of Waycross is likely a local issuing authority for land disturbance permits. Ware County most definitely is, but Waycross, I am assuming, is as well. There is now a little bit of a stronger timeline that you need to adhere to as a local issuing authority to get those permits turned around. But what we also had recognized within that bill was the importance for local governments that partner with state agencies as a part of these applications reviews to ensure that we toll the shot clock, we toll that time counting down while state agencies or other partners are looking at this. So if you are working with the Department of Community Affairs to process a permit, the Georgia Department of Transportation, if you're working with State Soil and Water to review certain aspects of these permits, while they look at that, the shot clock is tolled, it does not keep counting. But again, there's a little bit of stronger accountability on both sides, right? Cities get to deal with completed applications now, which is something that we defined for the first time, and ensuring that you guys are taking receipt of a completed application before you begin an application review. And then developers can now have a better understanding of where they are at in the issuance process for those land disturbance permits. Now, that's kind of legislatively what I think is the big picture moving forward. If there's anything else that, any other questions, and I'm happy to help answer, but I'll kind of defer it back to y'all. I know I've been talking for about 15 minutes now, so hopefully it wasn't too much all at once.
Very good. Thank you, Noah. We were opening the floor for any questions, so I'm going to do this. This is Mayor James, and so I'm going to start with District 1.
No, sir.
District 2?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. District 3?
Could you explain more when we talking about the tax, when we say homestead, that wouldn't apply across the board to all properties? That's the primary home for a resident, correct?
I am having a pretty hard time hearing the question. Patrick, would it be possible to put it in the chat?
Sure, I can try to summarize what he just said. So the homestead exemption doesn't apply to all residents, it's just the primary residence? Was his question?
Yeah. You can only have an active and valid homestead on one property in the state of Georgia at any given time. And the whole property tax mechanic that I talked about in SB 33 only applies to homesteaded properties. So that is the only portion of your city's digest that is going to be really affected by that soft cap we talked about, tied to the rate of inflation.
That was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
District 4?
No
Yeah.
questions.
And District 5?
Yes, sir. There's a lot of questions I have, but I'm going to try to hit on the most important one to me. For this Floss and L-Host, I think that it's going to end up being litigated with the amount that we'll have to split with that revenue that we generate, because right now it stands that the county gets so much and the city gets so much. So will we get a equal 50-50 split, or do we have to split what's currently being split with the county? That's my concern.
So that's a good question. The terms of the IGA are predicated based upon the conversations had between the city and the county. So that is the negotiating position that the city is in. If you believe that the loss distribution that you have existing is not fair, is not recognizing what maybe the city is owed, then I think looking at floss negotiation, should you go that direction on revenue splits. Again, your city does not have to be a signatory on that document. So, there's kind of that relationship there where very likely the IGA could not move forward. It could not go to a ballot measure without the city's signature on it. So kind of working to negotiate that. That's about as much as I can tell you about the distributions. There might be some more that we could talk about offline, but that distribution percentage between the cities and the county, that is entirely beholden to the intergovernmental agreement that is entered into on behalf of all the parties.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's it. Thank you, Noah.
We appreciate everything you've given us, and I think that's all our questions, Noah. And thank you so very much for the information. Any other questions that the commission may have, they'll more than likely put those things in an email to you or maybe talk to you offline.
Well, Mayor, Council, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Y'all have a fantastic meeting. Good night.
You
Thanks,
do as
Noah.
well. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Next, Mr. Mayor, we're going to move into, let me go past these slides real fast. Some of our city contracts updates, and I did ask representation from each of the contracts, our three major contracts being the grant team, Infomark, and Ryland. And each of them asked for changes in their contracts. Our grant team, as you remember when we first brought them on board, it was a one-year contract, and we'll be evaluated after this 1 year. I will state they have been fantastic at their jobs. As you all know, we got many more opportunities with the grants that we did not have before signing on with them. They are requesting a 3-year contract, a renewal on the 3rd year. That's pretty much standard we've had with other contracts, 3 to 5 years. The contract will remain the same terms, same price. And you should have had a copy of all 3 contracts in your books to review over the weekend. So they are not here to represent themselves, but they are simply asking that they get a 3-year renewal starting next month as their contract expires this month. So I will be requesting that for them. We'll move in next to, it says ESD, but it's Infomark, and then we'll be followed by Ryland to give them an opportunity to kind of speak on some of their financial situations that are leading to their requests for increases in their contracts, and then we'll go from there. I will inform the commission once the representatives have spoken that we did build some of this into the budget already. So that's something you see in the budget as far as these costs. And as the GMA rep that spoke, I did try to capture some of that legislative that's coming, not just this year, but that we know the potential will come next year. And we'll discuss all of that during the finance brief. That's why we requested to be a little bit longer this year, because these are very important factors that that we have to focus on our budget going forward as far as revenue. The question mentioned by Commissioner Nelson at the end is, I don't want to start talking about the briefing now, but it was a very important question that we had to consider with some of our previous negotiations with the county and tax commission that probably need to be looked at, but I'll discuss that during the finance brief. We'll make sure we got the proper monies coming in, and everybody has a clear understanding what the new policies are and what they might be potentially in the future. But I'll pause there for any questions that you have as far as the grant team contract. And if you don't have any questions there, Mr. Mayor, I'll move into Infomark and then Riley.
So the question I do have regarding that is, do you need a consent for this to come up for tomorrow?
We do, Mr. Mayor.
And then I know that we'll have further discussion within the budget hearing.
Yes, Mr.
So
Mayor.
just needing this to go online before we go into budget hearing, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So we'll start with District 1.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then District 2,
Yes, sir.
District 3,
Yes, sir.
District 4,
Yes, sir.
and District 5.
Yes, sir.
So we have all 5 consenting to place this on tomorrow's agenda, I believe, so that it can be voted on and then later on discussed inside of our hearing.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mayor. So I've already spoken on the grant team. I'm going to ask that Infomark speaks right now, to kind of give you some highlights on their request for an increase in their services. And of course, all this is backed by inflation, cost of materials and labor, manpower and resources we've been discussing. We'll discuss tomorrow as well during our finance update, budget briefing update, as well as the meeting. So, Robert, you can start.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Robert Lake, Project Manager of Infomark here in Waycross. We're requesting a 3.99% increase to our base fee while keeping the rebatable accounts the same. This is for, like he said earlier previously, inflation, lab supplies and testing costs, and wage increases to remain competitive around South and Coastal Georgia, and also to promote our people to get certificates that we can give them pay for them. Like I said, everything is raising up across the whole board. Freight's going up, fuel's going up. It's we all know the effects of it.
Yes, sir. And with this, Mr. City Manager, you would like us to do the same as we've done with the grant renewal?
Correct.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'll look to the commission, starting with District 1. And they may have questions before going into a consent or lack thereof.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for coming. So you say a 3.99% raise,
Yes, sir.
and I guess we locked into this. I mean, this is
So this is outside of the regular contract. This is a request for pretty much fee increases. And like I said, I kind of built it in the budget already. It is necessary. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Obviously, everything has went up significantly. Fuel alone is about 7.99% up from this time last year, which is significant. That's our biggest cost across the board. But I did build into the budget. We can talk about doing the budget hearing, because after the budget hearing, then we'll have a regular meeting and give you time to consider the proposal.
Yes, sir.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And did you want to consent to put it on tomorrow's budget hearing conversation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we'll go to District 2.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. And District
Yes, sir.
District 4
Yes, sir.
and District 5.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Next, Ms. Mayor, will be followed by Rodney.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name's Richard Lee. I'm with Ryland Environmental, and here to talk about, to present our request for a CPI increase. Actually, and years ago, it was always a right to petition, so we would come and ask you for an increase, but in this case, it's actually in the contract. This contract started July of 2024. For the first year, we did no increase at all. But beginning 2025, which was this time last year, we did like a 3, I forget how much it was then, but this time it's 4.4% increase we're asking for. If you do the math, y'all have a very low rate, have a great rate, like $9.24 per home. We're asking for it equates to 39 cent per home increase. And, fuel has gone up, like he said, just from November till now, $1.70 a gallon. So we're not even getting back our fuel. But that's all in it. It may go down next year. So what contract says, anything no less than 3%, but no higher than the actual CPI. There's a digest under the Department of Labor Statistics that it'll spell it out specifically for sewer trash pickup. I forget what all was in there, but sewer and trash was included. So also the same percentage of increase on the commercial. So that's what we're asking for, and we'd like for y'all to consider that. Well, it's actually in the contract.
So that's on both ends, commercial and,
And residential, yes, sir.
so we'll start with the districts, and I'll start with District 1.
Yes, sir.
And then District 2,
Yes, sir.
District 3,
Yes, sir.
District 4.
I just have one question, and just make sure I'm reading this right and based on what you said. Regardless of how we feel about that, it's locked in the contract that you can do the rate increase, correct?
Yeah, I don't like to say it that way, but it's.
I
it is-
mean, in
it's
plain terms,
necessary.
it pretty much is.
Yeah,
so.
it is locked in, yes, sir. It's necessary for us to keep doing what we're
Okay.
doing.
Okay.
I don't
Yes.
like saying it that way,
No,
but it's in.
Well,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
pretty plain spoken on some
That's
things
right.
like that, so that's
Yeah.
fine. Yes.
And District 5.
Yes, sir, because it's already budgeted. Yes.
So you have our consent, and we'll be meeting tomorrow during our hearing, as well as our regular meeting. So thank
Okay.
you so very much.
Need to come back tomorrow?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
They're going to dance
Yes, we want
around
to.
and listen to the music.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And again, Mr. Mayor and Commission, like I said, it's going to be an ongoing theme about the inflation, the cost going up. You mentioned CPI. That is in conjunction with our water and sewer rates. We won't talk about it right now, but it's the same business model that we'll be following as well. It's just about getting back to real costs, with real inflation and real inflation of materials, labor and water and sewer, stuff like that. At this time, Mr. Mayor, we're going to move into reappointment of the Housing Authority. I think we have 2 positions that have to be renewed. I think you have the names, and I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. City Manager. I want to present to the commission tonight, we have 2 names that have expired. They expired on March the 21st of this year, after we had given assignments to Ms. Stevens-Cone and also to Dr. Hall and Mr. Lockie, as well as Ms. Reed. So the 2 names that expired were Mr. Edward Tyre, Buster Tyre. His expired on March 21st, and so did Ms. Cleo Price. Mr. Tyre will represent the commission, and she, Ms. Cleo, that is, will be representing the residents, and they both want to be renewed. So what I needed to do is get consent from the commission to put their names on the agenda for tomorrow for reappointment. And so the 2 names are, again, Mr. Edward Buster Tyre and also Ms. Cleo Price. And I'll start with District 1.
Yes, sir.
Then District 2,
Yes, sir.
District 3,
Yes, sir.
District 4,
Yes, sir.
and District 5.
Yes, sir.
Mr. City Manager, we have consent for the request that was for reappointment for Mr. Edward Tyre and Ms. Cleo Price.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, Mr. Mayor, next we move into the privilege license renewals, which we have 1. We have no privilege licenses. We have no proposed ordinances. We're going to have, looks like, 1, 2, 3, 4 resolutions. We'll double check that, Mr. Mayor, prior to tomorrow. And with that, I will turn to the city attorney for her report. Could be 5, okay. It'll be 5 resolutions tomorrow, Mr.
5?
Mayor. And I will defer to the city attorney if she wants to provide a report at this time.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. The only thing I wanted to make sure that people are abreast of is that our governor has signed a proclamation convening the General Assembly of Georgia in a special session coming up. I believe it starts June 16th. Hold on for 1 second, because I printed out the proclamation. Yeah, it'll begin on June 17th at 2 p.m. And it is to consider enacting, revising, repealing, or amending general law for the division of the state into appropriate districts from which members of the Georgia State Senate, the Georgia State House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives, and the United States Congress, or any other state officer elected by the district. In light of the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision in Louisiana versus Callis. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. City Attorney. Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions on that, the city attorneys?
I do not, but I did want to add that I know on the 24th of the same month, which will be the following week and a day over, well, the following week actually, because it's June the 17th, on June the 24th, there's going to be a legislative luncheon to be held. And our representatives and senators will also be at that meeting. So if you have questions prior to that time, please feel free to make comments, send emails, call, and their numbers are listed. So they're willing to talk to anyone who desires to talk with them.
So that legislative luncheon, again, is June 24th. It's going to be at the C.C. McCrae City Auditorium. Networking and lunch is from 11 a.m. to noon. And then the legislative program begins at noon to 1:30.
All right. Thank you both. Next, Mr. Mayor, we will move into my report. We kind of changed things up, Mr. Mayor. We're trying to make sure we get the information out as fast as we can and detail without being too long-winded. So I'll read over this briefly. As far as infrastructure, of course, the city continues to invest in our roads, our drainage, utilities, and our park improvements. With the parks, you will get an email sometime tomorrow. I know the parks are supposed to open up this weekend, but we will have some water restrictions, but I'll make sure you get that tomorrow, outlining those water restrictions moving forward until the fire chief is comfortable. And you can let your residents know, commissioners, please, the water at the splash pad, it is not returnable, meaning when we use that water, it's pretty much gone. It's not fall back anyway back into the system. So we got to be mindful about those splash pads moving forward. The dirt street paving remains, of course, a major priority. As you know, multiple roads are under design or construction. Canal cleaning and stormwater work continue to follow after hurricanes and ongoing flooding concerns. And again, we're very proud about that as far as getting that done. Lee Avenue culvert replacement has been done, completed. So that was a big project for us. We have another culvert we're going to look at, St. Mary's Street next to the new school. That culvert unfortunately needs to be replaced as well, so I'll be looking at that this week and we'll get back with the commission. It might be declared an emergency depending on how bad it is. Next, as far as the budget, we'll have the budget update will start tomorrow. With my presentation is a public hearing, and of course the theme of this year's budget is balance and sustain. I'm sure you know why. Rising fuel, healthcare, material, operational costs continue to impact city services, not just the city of Waycross, but all cities. The budget decreases reflect the expiration of one-time ARPA and FEMA funding and not service cuts. I want to make that clear during the budget hearing I'm saying today. So you see that decrease in the budget, that's because we lost those funding sources, not necessarily that we are reducing cuts or reducing services, but that will be an option, as far as worst case scenario. And of course, the city remains focused on protecting essential services while improving efficiency and maintaining cost responsibly. Community and public safety, Waycross continues to see positive growth in housing, business activity, and community investments. Just recently, Mr. Mayor, at your State of the City, you made a comment about work being done everywhere. We can rightfully say, thanks to our business owners, our investors, our community, our residents, leadership of the commission, that we have construction work going on every single corner of the city, and it's been a long time that you can see that. You can go to any major street, any major highway, you will see construction going on right now, as well as the housing units, over 200 units being currently built or planned. So that's a big achievement for the city, and we hopefully that keeps going on as we move forward. Crime reduction has expanded community programs, reflect strong public safety efforts. Also during your State of the City, you mentioned the good work that our police force is doing. I'm not sure everybody, as far as our residents, can understand those numbers, how far they went down over the past 2 years. So I have charged Chief Cox to kind of do more site visits with neighborhoods, him personally going out there, as well as some of his majors and captains to really kind of brief this to our residents, because crime has went down in a major way. I will, in the same time, say we still do have drugs, we still do have gangs, but those who were here, like me coming on board in 2023, 2024, You remember those days, they have significantly decreased, so I'm proud of that with our police force. And the city continues improving communications, transparency, resident engagement through digital platforms and outreach. I want to highlight, again, Mr. Simmons on this. He's took this this modernization that came in went to a whole nother level. So we've pretty much transferred all our old systems over to a new platform. Our citizens, our residents, have over 12 ways to communicate with the city. I will say Facebook is not our primary means of communication, never was. The primary means will be to come to these meetings, contact the commissioners through your phones and your emails, and myself if need be. But now we have a chat box. I will say about the chat box, it is ever evolving, similar to a child. So if something's put in the chat box and it does not respond, it automatically, or the AI model automatically takes that. It let us know that it was unable to answer that question, and then we provide the data to how to answer that question. It can answer it next time. So it's always growing. That's going to be a great feature. I will say that our app is still a great way to communicate with our residents. Right now, I still get probably about 50 communications through the app. It's way down from what it was before. I think partly that's because we're really on it with other ways of communicating and getting out to the public. But at the same time, maybe everybody doesn't understand we have an app, but it's a great tool to be used. With the new website, it's very interactive. You're going to see a lot of our things move over to the new website. As far as communication, I'll keep you updated and posted on that as that transpires. Again, the city remains focused on responsible growth, infrastructure investments, and long-term sustainability, and we're always working towards progress. In my report, you just received a report from our GMA partners. I want to make sure that our residents go back and watch what he said just now as a means of validation and transparency about what's actually happening at the state legislative level. It's very important they understand this. Mayor, I would echo you as well. They need to attend that luncheon work session and ask questions about many things that are happening because they are affecting us adversely. And those are the ones that are making those decisions moving forward. You can look at the city for many things, or blame the city for many things, but we're not the only thing. I put it that way. So it's important everybody is informed and has the right shared information versus secondhand. So again, we encourage our residents to make those meetings. If you got questions, please reach out during the budget hearings. We also ask that you attend if you can, but it will be live streamed, and we'll follow up after the budget hearing. After you make your changes the first go around, we'll have another video presentation, just myself on that update, talking about the budget, moving into your actual budget hearing, I think June 2nd. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I will stop and pause for any questions that the commission might have or anything covered tonight.
And I'll open the floor to the commission, District 1, if you have any questions or concerns.
No, sir.
District 2?
No, Mr. Mayor.
District 3?
No, Mr. Mayor.
District 4?
No, sir.
And District 5?
No, sir.
And our city attorney has something to share.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just point of clarification on that legislative luncheon. I want to make sure the residents know that it is a ticketed event. For individuals, it's $10, and for a reserved table of 8, it's $80. That's all. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And on that note, Mr. Mayor, I think that's going to be co-partnered by the chamber, so the chamber's going to lead that.
Yes.
Or getting tickets.
And honestly speaking, they do this each year and have been doing it for some years, which has been helpful to the community to be aware of what's going on. Sometimes we've had it at Okefenokee Swamp Park, we've had it there at the city auditorium, and we've had it at various other places around town, like the depot. But this year, I believe it's C.C. McCrae City Auditorium, so we'll be there this year. Last year, year before last, I think we were at the depot. But with that being said, I do want to remind our community of the 3:30 budget hearing tomorrow, as well as to encourage you to go out and vote. Tomorrow is voting day, May 19th. And we will be working on some conversation around the ARPA because Superintendent of Schools made the same kind of statement that you made today, that those funds are going, and they're gone. And as a result of it, the budgets are changing. And if you start building or doing something, that's going to change the trajectory of the work you're doing. So there has to be money pocketed or put somewhere in order to be able to redo what we had to do. Yes, sir.
But can't, Mr. Mayor, that's really the SPOS. You know, we had the T-SPOS, 2018, that's expired. Actually, 16, 18 are both expired now. So they'll be doing a budget brief. They did bring value. We were able to do a lot of infrastructure upgrade those monies. Now that they're gone, we are starting on the 2023 SPOS. But that's got specific guidance into what we can do with it. So we'll discuss all that during the budget hearings.
Yes, sir. So having heard those things, I'm not sure, do we have an executive session tonight?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. If the commission would like, we open the floor to you for last call, and then we will adjourn thereafter. And I'll start with District 1.
Okay. Just like to thank everyone for coming tonight. Congratulations to the class of 2026. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner for District 2
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
and District 3.
Just sharing my congratulations to the class of 2026. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. And District 4
No comments.
and District 5.
No, sir. Have a good night.
Well, we're, again, to go alongside those great commissioners who mentioned the graduates of 2026, and we'll probably say it again to them. And tomorrow night is also honors night at the high school, so we do want to participate in that as well. But do want to say thank you to each one of the commissioners, and also to our city manager, to our city attorney, and to our clerk tonight for their work, and to our press, and to our people who have come to celebrate and to show their appreciation and or concerns for the city of Waycross by being present in our meeting, and to our procurement officer and our finance director. To each of you, thank you so very much for your presence tonight. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Have a motion from our Mayor Pro Tem and a second from our Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, sir.
With that being said, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Have a blessed evening.